So basically, it's just kind of ironic that a bank is doing it directly. They normally do it indirectly, but they're doing it directly. And the money for the tax was supposed to go to urban renewal to help blighted areas. 6th and Main Street was not a blighted area. It was just said there was a park there. So our tax dollars made a park there. And I want to be real quick by saying this. In law, there's something called meeting
2 minutes, Mr.
of
Lever.
there's something called meeting of the minds.
Thank you, Mr. Lever.
I noticed.
Mr. Lever.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
We call our meeting to order. Everyone please stand for our invocation from Mr. Pastor Scott Jones from Summit Baptist Church.
Let us pray. Father, we come to you. We thank you for your grace and your mercy. We thank you for all the things that you've done for us. We ask as we have this meeting tonight that you would bless this council, bless the city of Pine Bluff as she grows and as we try to make her better. We ask you, Lord, to give wisdom to each one of these council members. We ask that you would be in every decision that we make, that we know that your sacrifice that you made on the cross for us was not just for us so that we could use it for our own benefit, but so that we could spread it across the world. We thank you so much for this opportunity that you've given us, and we ask this all in your name. Amen.
Amen. Let's remain standing for our invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Jones, for that prayer. May we have a roll call from our city clerk, Roberts.
Councilmember Mays.
Here.
Councilmember Holcomb.
Here.
Councilmember Brown Jr.
Here.
Councilmember Brown Councilmember Lockett.
Here.
Councilmember Brown Sr.
Here.
Councilmember Shainer.
Here.
Councilmember Frazier.
Here.
Councilmember Brighton.
Here.
8 present.
Everyone should have a copy of the minutes.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the minutes from the meeting from May 20th be moved and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those that oppose, so moved. Next, we move into our committee reports, Ways and Means. Councilmember Brown Jr. stepping in for Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ways and Means met just before this council meeting. Tonight we have 5 budget adjustments. First budget adjustment is coming from various departments. That total budget adjustment is $24,160. This is coming from the USDA indirect expense, USA Swimming Foundation Incorporated, and AR Community Foundation Swim Grant. This is going from the revenue account to the expense accounts. I move that we approve this budget adjustment.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that we have a budget adjustment in the amount of $24,160 from various departments, USDA, indirect expense, USA Swimming Foundation, AR Community Foundation Swim Grant, USDA indirect expense, US Swimming Foundation, AR Community Foundation Swim Grant. Are there any questions regarding this budget request? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose, budget request approved.
All right. Agenda budget adjustment number 2 is coming from Parks. Total budget adjustment is $77,596. This is coming from purchases, machine and equipment, and it is going towards our golf cart lease payments and interest. I move that we approve this budget adjustment.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a budget adjustment in the amount of $77,596 from Parks and Recs for equipment for golf and cart lease payments. Is there any questions regarding this budget adjustment? All those in favor in this budget adjustment, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose, budget adjustment approved.
Budget adjustment number 3 It's coming from Animal Control. Total budget adjustment is $12,500. This is coming from grant revenue as well as animal food and supplies, and it is going to Spay and Neuter Initiative as well as Repair and Maintenance Building. I move that we approve this budget adjustment.
It has been properly moved in second that a budget adjustment coming from Animal Control in the amount of $12,500. Is there any questions regarding this budget adjustment? All those in favor of this budget adjustment, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose, budget adjustment approved.
Budget adjustment number 4 is coming from the Police Department. That total budget adjustment is $445,000. This is coming from salaries from within their budget. It is going toward capital purchases, purchase auto, janitorial expenses, non-uniform overtime, as well as uniform overtime. I move that we approve this budget adjustment.
Second.
It has been properly moved in second that a budget adjustment coming from the Police Department in the amount of $445,000. Is there any question regarding this budget adjustment? All those in favor of this budget adjustment, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, budget adjustment approved.
Fifth budget adjustment is coming from the Executive Department. The total budget adjustment is $15,000. This is coming from Councilmember discretionary from Brown Senior and is going to Councilmember Frazier for her discretionary account. I move that we approve this budget adjustment.
Second.
It has been properly moved in second that a budget adjustment coming from the Executive Department for the Councilmember discretionary fund from Councilmember Brown Senior for Councilmember Frazier in the amount of $15,000. Is there any questions? All those,
I just want to say, again, publicly, thank you to City Council. Oh, okay.
okay. All those in favor of this budget adjustment, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those that oppose, budget adjustment approved.
I
Councilmember
just
Frazier.
want to say thank you to Glenn Brown Senior for donating his $15,000 to the Ward 3 Park. There's so many things that we need to do in our ward, and I know he didn't have to do that. So again, I want to publicly thank him again for donating the $15,000. It is definitely needed and definitely appreciated, so thank you.
All right.
All right, Mr. Chair, that concludes Ways and Means.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Brown Jr. Ordinance and resolution, Councilmember Brown Jr.
Ordinance and resolutions met just before this council meeting. Agenda items number 1 and 2 have been pulled by the sponsor. We have number 3 is a resolution, as well as number 4 to be completed tonight. And we also have one agenda item to be considered to be added to the agenda by the council. It's an ordinance authorizing issuance of an Amendment 78 financing instrument for acquisition of needed equipment for the Parks and Recreation Department with Wells Fargo Financial Leasing Incorporated. I move that we add this to tonight's agenda.
Second.
It has been properly moved in second that an ordinance authorizing issuance of an Amendment 78 financing instrument for acquisition of needed equipment for the Parks and Recreation Department with Wells Fargo's Financial Leasing Incorporated. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Mays.
Aye.
Councilmember Holcomb Jr.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Jr.
Aye.
Councilmember Lockett.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Senior.
Aye.
Councilmember Shainer.
Aye.
Councilmember Frazier.
Aye.
And Councilmember Brunson.
Aye.
And so this will be agenda item number 1A.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right. And that concludes ordinances and resolutions.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown Jr. Economic and Community Development, Councilmember Brown Senior.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't officially have any enough, but I always have something to say. I'm not going to talk very long because I have to go to a baseball game. But at any rate, I see that we have a little bit more security here tonight than we normally have, and I don't want us to make our patrons or our citizens feel that it's dangerous to come to city council. We have We've always gotten along, and we feel that unsafe, then we need to hire someone to bring in some metal detectors of that sort. I did get a chance to encounter the situation that happened at the meeting on last week, but I did see that the person that was arrested was leaving and not going in anybody's face. I think that maybe some words were said that was out of order, but I just don't think that we should feel that it's not safe to come to city council meetings. That will spread abroad to all the people, and if we don't correct it, everybody's gonna think it's too scary to go to city council, and then that starts a news article, and that starts something on Facebook and everywhere else. And so I wanna make that clear to the people that it's not unsafe to come to city council. It's always good if you wanna come express yourself or just sit in your audience and listen to what is going on. So please be reminded that this is not a prison camp, and it's not a jailhouse. This is a city council meeting where people should feel safe and like what is going on in that city. Thank you.
That concludes your report.
Yes, that includes my report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown Senior. Public Health and Welfare, Councilmember Frazier.
Okay, thank you so much, Alderman Holcomb. I am bringing before you a report. Public Health and Welfare did not meet. We will be meeting this month if it's feasible to be able to meet on the 13th at 11 a.m. via Zoom. And with that, I want to say thank you to those citizens that came out to our second annual Senior Jamboree. And I want to thank the Zetas for partnering with, allowing me to partner with them in reference to doing something for our seniors. And we also had the Phi Beta Sigmas that partner with us, so I'm grateful. And the second annual Senior Jamboree was held at the Reynolds Center on May 31st. Speakers were from UAMS Geriatric Community Initiative, focusing on fall prevention, because the annual falls cost in the U.S. is $20 billion. And a lot of times we think that falling is actually hitting the ground, but even if you just stumble, even if you don't hit the ground, that is considered a fall because you can get hurt as a senior. And so the Senior Patrol for Medicare gave us some information on Medicare fraud and scams. Resources were distributed for the attendees for reporting those scams. And then the last speaker was a physical therapist demonstrating fall prevention with exercises for posture and lower extremity weaknesses, which was actually good even for those that's not seniors. And so I want to thank those who came out and supported that and the work that we're doing in reference to trying to help our seniors. And then I am working again on mental health and wellness. I know we do one every year in May for mental health and wellness, but I'm looking at doing one in fall. So keep an eye out on that, and hopefully it will be at the Reynolds Center. And then tomorrow, I hope everyone can mark their calendars and be at the Ward 3 Park tomorrow at 11 a.m. for the ceremony to kick off the transformation of Old Bush Field into a new city park. And we're going to kick it off with a presentation of a check from Graphite Incorporated for $25,000. And we will actually start the demo. And I'm hoping that I have a sledgehammer. Anybody got a sledgehammer want to give it to me so I could kick it off? I would love to do that. I'm ready to smash something. And so I'm so ready to get the park done. And so I'm excited to see the demolition about to take place so that way we can start focusing on rebuilding it up. So, and then with that being said, I have already met with another organization, business, in reference to a donation, which that was positive. So I'll be getting a donation from that. I can't tell you how much or when it's going to be, but that should be coming soon. And then also I even talked to another a social organization that is going to donate to the park. So William and I are working hard at trying to locate funds out of the normal realm of how we usually get funds for projects that we're doing for the city. So we're trying to utilize every resource to help us to build this park. So come on out tomorrow, June 4th at 11 a.m. and help us to kick off the rebuilding and the revitalization of Ward 3 Park. Thank you.
You know you're gonna have 20 sledgehammers, right?
Bring them on, come on. Everybody get a sledgehammer, come on, knock it on down. It'll go quicker.
Right. Thank you, Councilman Frazier. Does that conclude your report?
Yes, that concludes my report.
All right, Public Works, Councilmember Shaner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Public Works met on May the 29th. During that meeting, Clean and Beautiful reported they had their shredding event in April and would like to thank the CARC athletes for helping out with that shredding event. Street Department reported that they were removing down trees from storms, continuing to patch potholes and start mowing. Parks and Rec reported that Harbor Oaks right now, at the time of the meeting, they had a power outage, and that the grand opening of the new pro shop will be on June the 13th. They are also looking for volunteers to adopt a park. You can see Ms. Trudy Reedus for information on that. The Aquatic Center reported that they had received another grant this year to assist with helping out with swimming lessons for our residents. Pine Bluff Wastewater reported about the ongoing project to install the 42-inch force main that's going to run across Lake Langhofer. That's already started and should be finished sometime next year. And that they also, for the 15th year, they have received their 100% compliance award, and congratulations to them for doing that. And that completes my report.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Shaner. Development and Planning, Councilmember Lockett.
Thank you there, Councilman Holcomb. The Development and Planning Committee has not met since our last meeting. However, I would like to report that a long overdue resolution is on the agenda for coming up with creative policy around tiny houses and container houses. And the Inspection and Zoning Department's been on me for a long time about this because people keep coming wanting to do these things, but we haven't put any regulations in place. And it's not to be restrictive. What we're trying to do is find the best way to bring these new types of structures into the fold of our community in a way that people welcome them. So I, would look forward to the council's support on this resolution to create a task force on tiny houses and container houses. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Lockett.
I have a question for Councilmember Lockett. The three council members on the resolution, were those the members of the development?
It can be, I looked at but any council member that wants to be on there, probably is going to be a couple of, at least one person is going to be from planning and development, but I'll entertain, or we'll entertain and work with the mayor's office on whichever council member wants to be represented. I know you do real estate, so that you could bring that expertise to the task force. So it's not restrictive to the Development and Planning Committee.
Okay, thank you.
I said I would like
Can we be put on there?
Okay. Was that all?
Oh, yeah, that was all.
Okay.
Traffic and Aviation, Councilmember Brunson.
Thanks, Councilmember Holcomb. Traffic and Aviation has not met since our last city council meeting, but we will have one on the schedule for next week, and you all will get that information via email, and it will be a hybrid meeting via Zoom and in the city council chambers. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Brunson.
Before we go on, can I say mine is going to be via Zoom because I'll be at the Arkansas Municipal League Convention, so it will be via Zoom.
Via Zoom, did everyone get that?
Yeah, on the 13th.
Okay. Administration, Councilmember Holcomb. Administration has not met since our last meeting. We will hold our regular meeting, which is the second Tuesday of each month. That would be June the 11th. Is 4 o'clock good with my committee members? Councilmember Brown Senior, Councilmember Lockett?
Yes, that's good.
What day is that on?
That's next Tuesday, June the 11th.
Okay.
That'd be via Zoom. Okay, and I also want to read an announcement. On this Thursday, Save the Day, we'll have a community roundtable meeting. Please join us at 703 West 3rd Avenue. That's Trinity Episcopal Church. This is a roundtable meeting concerning the 24-hour treatment center. Everyone is invited to come out and voice your concerns. This is June the 6th at 3 p.m. at Trinity Episcopal Church. This is concerning the 24-hour treatment center. And that concludes my report. Public Safety, Councilmember Brown Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Public Safety has not met since our last council meeting, but we will have a meeting on this Wednesday, which is June 5th. It's going to be at 1:30 p.m. in the old council chambers, and it'll also be available via Zoom. And that concludes my report.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Brown Jr. Now we'll move on to our proposed ordinance and resolutions. Councilmember Brown Jr.
Thank you, sir. Agenda item 1A is an ordinance authorizing issuance of an Amendment 78 financing instrument for acquisition of needed equipment for the Parks and Recreation Department with Wells Fargo Financial Leasing Incorporated, up for the first reading.
Ordinance number 6825 passed February 20th, 2024, the council waived competitive bidding to authorize acquisition of needed equipment for the Parks and Recreation Department and to authorize the mayor to submit a credit application to finance the acquisition of equipment with a financing instrument subject to council approval. And whereas the firm of Wells Fargo Financial Leasing Incorporated is willing to finance the acquisition of the equipment on the terms and conditions acceptable to the city. And whereas acquisition of the equipment via installment payments for the period contemplated requires the governing body to comply with Arkansas Code Annotated 1478-101 and following, Amendment 78 to the Arkansas Constitution. Whereas the equipment is greatly needed and the transaction is in the best interests of the city. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Section 1, there is authorized the issuance of a financial instrument in compliance with Arkansas Sections 1478-101 and following, and Amendment 78 to the Arkansas Constitution in the form of a lease or purchase agreement, option agreement with Wells Fargo Financial Leasing Incorporated. The lease purchase option agreement is attached hereto with exhibit schedules, addendums, and other attachments, the whole of which will be considered the financing instrument for the purposes of ACA 1478-101 and following, and Amendment 78 of the Constitution. And the documents are incorporated into this ordinance by reference and referred to as the Amendment 78 instrument. As mandated by law, the Amendment 78 instrument shall note therein or attach thereto a notation that the instrument is issued and executed in compliance with 1478-101 and following, and Amendment 78 to the Arkansas Constitution. Section 2, the equipment to be acquired is identified in Equipment Schedule A to the Amendment 78 instrument and consists of two John Deere 2 John Deere Model 2550 2024 new riding grass mowers, one John Deere 4052R 2023 new compact tractor, and one Progressive new mower, all of which have a useful life in excess of 1 year. The principal terms of the Amendment 78 instrument include a lease payment which shall be $3,719.78 per month for a term not to exceed 60 months in duration, with the first payment to begin on or after June 5th, 2024, and continuing in like amount on each succeeding month until the obligation is fully paid. The other terms, conditions, and covenants of the Amendment 78 instrument are approved. Section 4, the mayor is authorized to execute the documents necessary to complete the Amendment 78 instrument and acquire the equipment, and the city clerk shall attest the mayor's signature when necessary. Section 5, an ordinance or a part of ordinance in conflict with this ordinance is repealed to the extent of the conflict. Section 6, the sections or sentences of this ordinance are declared severable, and should any section or sentence be found to be unlawful, the remaining sections and sentences shall continue to be given full force and effect. Section 7, this ordinance not being of a general or permanent nature, it need not be published and shall take effect upon its approval.
Move to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on its second reading.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that we suspend the rules and place this ordinance on the second reading. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Mays.
Aye.
Councilmember Holcomb Jr.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Jr.
Aye.
Councilmember Lockett.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Senior.
Aye.
Councilmember Shaner.
Aye.
Councilmember Frazier.
Aye.
Councilmember Brunson.
Aye.
An ordinance authorizing issuance of an instrument 78 financing instrument. An ordinance authorizing issuance of an amendment 78 financing instrument for acquisition of needed equipment for the Parks and Recreation Department with Wells Fargo Financial Leasing Incorporated.
Move to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on its third and final reading.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that we suspend the rules and place this ordinance on its third and final reading. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Mays.
Aye.
Councilmember Holcomb Jr.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Jr.
Aye.
Councilmember Lockett.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Senior.
Aye.
Councilmember Shaner.
Aye.
Councilmember Frazier.
Aye.
And Councilmember Brunson.
Aye.
An ordinance authorizing issuance of an Amendment 78 financing instrument for acquisition of needed equipment for the Parks and Recreation Department with Wells Fargo Financial Leasing Incorporated.
Move for adoption.
Second.
An ordinance authorizing issuance of an amendment 78 financing instrument for acquisition of needed equipment for the Parks and Recreation Department with Wells Fargo Financial Leasing Incorporated.
Just step it in there.
Is there any discussion, any questions? All those in favor of this ordinance, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ordinance passed.
All right, agenda item number 3, a resolution creating the Pine Bluff Tiny Houses and Container Houses Task Force and related purposes.
Whereas tiny houses and container houses have become a trend across the nation to address the shortage of affordable housing, and whereas tiny houses and container houses have become more acceptable, the City Council finds that it is important for the city's building and housing codes to improve regulations for these structures. And whereas the City Council recognizes that the International Resident Code, Appendix Q, applies to tiny houses used as single dwelling units and modifies various requirements in the code as it applies to houses that are 400 square feet in area or less. And whereas the City Council desires to ensure that city ordinances do not have the effect directly or indirectly of discriminating against customers' choices in the placement or use of a home in such a manner that it is not equally applicable to all homes. And whereas tiny houses and container houses require regulation for the purposes of sitting in the same manner as site-built homes, factory-built homes, or homes built to any other state construction or local design standard. And whereas there is a pent-up demand in the real estate market for tiny houses and container houses, but the City Council wants this market governed with clear legal framework. And whereas there are people ready to invest in tiny houses and container houses in the community who are waiting for a legal framework to be established. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Section 1, Creation and Purpose. A, there is hereby established and created the Pine Bluff Tiny Houses and Container Houses Task Force for the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. The purpose of the Pine Bluff Tiny Houses and Container Houses Task Force is to create a comprehensive policy related to tiny houses and container houses and their regulation within the municipal code. B, purposes. to propose policy related to ordinances to allow for the development of tiny houses and container house communities. 2, to propose policy related to defining and suggesting certain building code requirements for tiny houses and container houses. 3, to propose policy related to the location of tiny houses and container houses in the zoning districts. 4, to propose policy related to placement of tiny houses and container houses on permanent foundations. Number 5, to propose policy related to defining tiny houses and suggesting certain building code requirements for tiny houses and container houses. Section 2, composition. The City Council will appoint the membership of the task force composed of representatives from the following entities. 2 members from the Planning Commission, 1 member from the Inspection Department, 1 member from the Zoning Department, Executive Director of South Arkansas Regional Planning, 1 member of the Pine Bluff City Attorney's Office, 3 members of the City Council, 2 contractors, 2 real estate agents, 3 residents, and 1 representative of the Pine Bluff Habitat for Humanity. Section 3, meetings and officers. The task force shall meet as frequently as the members shall desire, but in no event less than once per quarter. B, the task force shall designate 1 of its members as chairman, who shall serve as presiding officer of the task force meeting, and vice chairman, who shall preside in the chairman's absence. The task force may provide for other officers as it deems necessary. Section 4, duration and staff support. The task force will end December 2024 or until the duties are accomplished. The Pine Bluff Inspection and Zoning Department will provide staff to support the task force for meeting notification, agenda preparation, clerical support, information gathering, and arrangements for guest speakers, all to the extent permitted by staffing and budgetary limitations. Additional staff support may be provided by community partners who are represented on the task force. The City Attorney's Office will provide legal advice to the task force as needed. Section 5, budget. There is no budget allocation for the work of the task force participation, and the task force is as a volunteer.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It has been properly moved and second. A resolution creating the Pine Bluff Tiny Houses and Container Houses Task Force and for related purposes. Do we have any questions or discussion?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown Senior.
Do you have any idea what size these tiny houses are?
Oh, size of them? I think they're less than 400 square feet. 400 square feet or less.
Yeah. You look on line 17. You're on line 17 on the front page.
So basically, it's any home that falls in that
So,
square footage.
yeah, so, in essence, are these 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bed, 1 bath, 2 baths? That's what I was really trying to get at.
I believe that it depends on who designs the tiny home. I think in some situations, they can have a 2-bedroom situation. Some of them can be studio style or maybe 1 bedroom. It just kind of depends on how it's designed. But I think mostly studio, 1 bedroom, or 2 bedroom.
So can I say one more thing? Will this be similar to a shotgun house?
What's this?
Would this be similar to a shotgun house?
It could be configured in such a way.
You know, that's the old-fashioned term for those kinds of houses, as a shotgun house. Okay.
Let me do this, get your correct answer. Ms. Hill, can you answer that question for us?
It will be based on design.
Hey, could you come up front, please? No, that's not professional there at all. You know?
As someone previously stated, it will be based on design. 400 square feet is not a lot to work with. So it's dependent upon the design. It could be square, it could be rectangular.
Can you come closer to the mic, please? Pull the mic down.
Can you all not hear me?
I can hear you.
Well, I'm looking out for the audience. I don't know if they all can hear you.
They can hear.
I mean,
Thank you.
and what I understand from the tiny houses, they utilize every inch of the space, and they use like hide-a-beds and things like that to hide up in the wall and come on down. And so you can come in and you can have 1 or 2 bedrooms in there, just depending on how they utilize that space and how they do the configuring of the bedrooms or the space that they're going to be laying in. Container houses actually can be bigger than that. I mean, a container house can almost look like a regular house, depending on how they stack it up high and how wide they go with the containers. So it just, again, like she said, it depends on the design.
So, Ms. Hill, now you don't have to come back up here. So if the home, if it's a container home and if it's a container home, is it automatically considered to be in part of that tiny house, even if it's more than 400 square feet?
It's 2 different things.
Coming back.
You
Okay.
can't put them. You can't put
No,
them
I-
together. Yeah.
She coming on home.
Okay. I wasn't trying to make you walk back down.
I
here.
try not to say it because I was a little too interested.
It's 2 completely different things. Currently, our ordinance prohibits the use of containers unless they're in industrial and commercial zones approved by Planning Commission as storage. We've had some residents of the city who have expressed a desire to use container homes, and there's a conflict with the ordinance and zoning that says that they're not permitted at all. But we have international building code regulations that allow them to be used as building material. So it needs to be reviewed and amended to allow how or not allow.
You
Either
already
or.
amended it?
We've not. That's what this committee or task force is designed for, so that all of those professionals can come together and decide how to implement it in our ordinance.
Explain building materials. What are you saying?
That's what we need to decide, is what are they saying? Because as a whole, they're not permitted, but they are listed as building material in the ordinance. Not the ordinance, but in the international code.
I am totally against this, because what you all gonna try to do is put them in the 4th ward. I don't want them packed with a bunch of these tiny houses. It's about as big as half of this here podium. You know what I'm saying? And it is. And I voted against it when y'all tried to do it a while back. And I'm gonna continue to vote against it, because a lot of people that I know, they're gonna put them in these wards by these brick houses. When they start putting them in, they're gonna put them anywhere.
The council member, I think.
Let me finish now. You know, let y'all talk. I'm not gonna have these in the 4th ward, close to the houses. Y'all can put them in the 1st and 2nd and 3rd. Let's try to put them over by all them brick houses. See, they don't wanna do that. They wanna put them over in the 4th ward and pack the 4th ward out of it. You know.
Not
It's-
speaking in favor or against, but that's a concern that can be addressed in the task force, is the finishing level that you want to see in these neighborhoods.
Well, I don't even trust the task force. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna blow the 4th ward up with these tiny houses. You got a house cost $200,000, you can have a tiny house right next to it.
Well, that's a review in amendment to the zoning portion of the task force, is where you're gonna permit them to be.
Right.
You know, it's y'all have done a whole lot of wrong in this town. So let me finish now. Thank you. And we got to stop this stuff, because the 4th ward is not going to be a dumping ground for this. All this sounds good up here, but it's not going to be a dumping ground for these tiny, little bitty tiny houses in the 4th ward.
Let me say this, Councilmember Mays. You know, tiny homes are popular. They're not here yet, but they are popular in other parts of the country just because they're more affordable than building a larger home. So they're utilized, and they have communities that are developed for tiny homes. I've not seen any in person, but I've been doing some research on them, and a lot of the communities are very nice-looking communities where those tiny houses are located. So I wouldn't necessarily say that they can't be in the 4th ward or they can't go put them in the 3rd ward. I think that whatever the task force comes up with is going to be something that the city will be proud of. It won't be anything that we're just going to just place them all over the place. I think that's just the purpose of this, is to make sure that, you know, if we allow these in the city, that they'll be placed in a way that
Centralized.
it will be.
Now, what I'm saying is, we're not going to place them all in the 4th.
Now, the people got houses, $100,000 house, we're gonna put some over there too. In the second, in the first ward, and the third ward. You know,
Well, there are alternatives. We looked at this a couple years ago, and it didn't go through.
I know I voted it down then, voted against it.
But one of the things we talked about was establishing a community or an area for them instead of sprinkling them throughout the community. Such as your mobile home parks, their criteria for mobile home parks, acreages adjacent to highways and things like that. So that was also one of the recommendations at the time that we were looking at doing something a couple years ago. And when we go back to the drawing table this time, we can look at something similar to that in this task force.
I look at this task force. Most of these people don't live in Pine Bluff or in the ward. Most of them are retired people with big old homes. I want to tiny houses by their home if we build them. Now, you're not gonna pack them all in the 4th ward. That's it.
Okay, Councilman, maybe we go.
So let me, if I may.
Yes, sir. And after you, we're gonna vote.
Even though that we would allow these houses or homes to be built in Pine Bluff, even after that, they would still have to get a permission to build.
That's possible. When you allow things, you can allow them per zone, you can allow them per review prior to establishing them. It all depends on how you write your regulation in regard to them. And then, I mean, it depends on your task force, on this body, whether you even approve them. We're going to the table to decide what the city wants to do.
But, and I understand, I hope that Councilman Mays understand this too. There will be some put in the 3rd ward also, in areas where homes are needed. We have a lot of vacant spaces. In each one of our wards, I don't think no ward is without vacant space, where a house has been torn down or something of that nature, and it's grown up almost like a wilderness. So I think that not only the 4th ward, but all of the wards, and that's what people. What I'm saying is, you got a big pretty house in the 3rd ward, where you at, right? They're gonna put a tiny house right there by it, and you can't say nothing when they put it.
No, that's not the
It can
intention.
be regulated so that that doesn't happen.
You all can't,
Thank you, Ms. Hill.
They do a good talking about
let's vote.
regulating.
Let's vote.
But they're not gonna regulate. I can talk. I can talk. They can put it over there.
Let's vote.
Hold on a second, let me finish.
Councilman Mays, you've been talking.
I know, you talk, well, let me finish. I am the senior alderman, I can talk. But what I'm saying is, we gotta make sure we regulate this thing properly. Because some of y'all have some big pretty houses, they're gonna put tiny houses right there by them. That's the plan.
I just wanted to add that I went to the National League of City in Atlanta, and I had the fortunate opportunity to witness a container house being built. And just in the stages, I mean, it was beautiful. So don't think that it's going to be just this block container. It can be as beautiful or as extravagant as the builder wants it to be. And so again, like Lakeisha was saying, we're not trying to put it next to your $100,000 house or $300,000 house. I have a central location of where it can be, and it could be some beautiful, I implore everybody to do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Don't take nobody else's word for it. Do your own research. Look at the tiny houses. Look at the container houses. And when you see how beautiful those container houses can be, how beautiful the tiny houses can be, and we have to think about our young adults who can't afford a house but can't even, and we want to talk about home ownership. So that would be beneficial to us. Being able to walk through that and see it for myself. Yes, seeing it on TV is one thing, which I have, and I was a realtor in 2 states. So being able to see it in person was totally different. So it changed my perspective on tiny houses and container houses, because I was thinking some of the similar thoughts. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Frazier. Let us vote. All those in favor of this resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose,
No.
can we have a roll call?
Councilmember Mays?
No.
Councilmember Holcomb Jr.?
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Jr.?
Aye.
Councilmember Lockett?
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Senior?
Aye.
Councilmember Shainer?
Aye.
Councilmember Frazier?
Aye.
Councilmember Brunson?
Aye.
7-1.
7-1. All right, thank you.
Okay. It was said earlier, can I be put on as a sponsor?
I would
Councilman-
like to be put on as a sponsor too.
Gotcha.
And you as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course.
I think everyone that voted out must be in it.
Okay. Consider it done.
All right, we ready?
Yes.
All right, agenda item number 4, we have a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a license agreement for the use of real property.
Whereas the city desires to make use of a portion of the real property described in the attached lease agreement for the use of real property as the site for a Welcome to Pine Bluff sign on the terms set forth in that document. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Section 1, that the mayor is authorized to sign the attached 3 pages license agreement for the use of real property with Clayton Raspberry Sr. and Valerie Raspberry for the term and consideration and covenants therein set forth.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It has been properly moved in second that a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a license agreement for use of real property. Do we have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
is there currently a sign on this location? Could anybody answer that for me?
Yes.
So we do have a sign on the location.
Yes.
Okay, so we can't move
Correct.
it. So we've already spent about $75,000 for this sign to put it at this location. Did we have permission to put it there?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was
Yeah. Will you, can you kind of explain it, where this sign is, and actually, because I don't know where it is, and just trying to get a good understanding on the background of this particular.
So this is actually the sign that we put in, I think it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, the sign that's out there on Olive Street. At the time, the property owner, he gave us a lease for that sign at no charge. He did indicate that, in the future, he may reconsider, and we just told him that if that time ever arises, come back to us and we can renegotiate that lease. And so that's what he did most recently. And the price that you see in that agreement, we did consult with some experts in the sign industry, make sure that was a good price, and we were told that it is.
And you said it's on Olive?
Yeah, it's the sign that's out there on Olive Street.
When you coming in?
Yep.
Then also, it says in the contract that if, there are any issues with the location, that we have 90 days to change that agreement. So, if something happens in the future and we have to move the location, then we just have a 90-day notice. So,
Okay.
You have any more questions? You see where it says, section 5, where it says early termination?
Yeah, I just wanted some background.
Oh, yeah. Any more questions or discussions regarding this resolution? All those in favor of this resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those that oppose, resolution passes. I have no announcements. Oh, yeah.
While you're looking for that, may I say, you're gonna say something good, but we always get a report from the fire chief and I appreciate this report. Thank you very much, Fire Chief.
Thank you, Chief Howell. We have announcements from, our first announcement is that THV 11 Summer Cereal Drive is hosting a community site in Pine Bluff at the Walmart Supercenter in the morning, June 4th, from 6:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., collecting cereal and other breakfast items. Please come out and support and drop off your items. Our second announcement is the annual National Gun Violence Awareness Day, sponsored by the Pine Bluff GBI Committee. This is June 7th 2024, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Vendor applications are available through Jefferson County Circuit Court, or you can call this number, 870-541-5455. Come out for speakers, vendors, family fun, and food at the Pine Bluff Convention Center. Everyone is encouraged to wear orange. Please encourage all to attend. Monday, June 10th, fire truck dedication station at number 1 at 10 a.m. Our next announcement, come out and support the Harbor Oaks ribbon cutting ceremony. This is Thursday, June 13th at 11 a.m. through 12:30 p.m. Our last and final announcement, the City of Pine Bluff is working with UAPB to coordinate a Juneteenth holiday weekend. There will be a downtown art and crafts festival on Friday, June 14th. And on Saturday, June 15th, we will have the traditional Juneteenth celebration. Let's come out, support, and bring the family out to celebrate. That concludes our announcements. Yes, sir, Councilman Brown.
This is the second fire truck we're gonna donate this year.
This is the ladder truck.
It's the ladder truck.
Okay.
We're gonna
Other
have
one was
our,
the engine truck. That was at station number 3, I believe. And then this one, I'm sorry, Chief. Oh, station 2? And this is the ladder truck, and this is at station 1.
Station
I'm sorry
one.
about that.
This will be June 10th at 10 a.m. All right. That concludes our announcement. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved. We have
Recording stopped.
2 public speakers speaking on non-agenda items. And you have 3 minutes. Our first speaker is Mr. James Hill. Mr. Hill, you have 3 minutes. And good evening to you.
Good evening,
Good evening.
City Council members, to the absent of the mayor, to the senior alderman. My name is James Hill Jr. I'm from the north side, one of the gatekeepers over there. I come today again about issues about, there's a lot of issues that need to be done on our side. And I say it again, we want the safest side in Pine Bluff. We also in the #1 neglected side in Pine Bluff. We have dishes that's ridiculous over there, ain't been cut yet, none this summer. So I'm stressing this issue to economic community development and planning, these 2 groups, because it's sad to say that our community, we homeowners, we do a lot, and we don't get no type of assistance, no concern, nobody walk our streets, and we the one pay the salaries of the school district, the fire department, police department, you know, things of that nature right there. And even as, you know, the government system here in Pine Bluff. But we need these issues done, our ditches, our sidewalks, you know, our neighborhood, you know, it need to be cleaned up correctly. It's a sad system that's here, and ain't nobody doing it. And then I got another issue that I'm bringing about by economic community development, about the housing situation. Y'all, the money they're giving to the community for fixing their houses up, I feel that it needs to be divided by the wards. If you have 50 people that you're gonna issue houses to, y'all need to make a decision to divide that money equally to each ward. Don't pick 30 on one side or 20 on one side, because I haven't seen our side get no type of money in that area in a long, long, long time. So that's one of the issues as well. Then I heard that y'all only doing 65 and up, that y'all, the board, agreed that for that. And I don't understand why the other ones under 65, like the young people that might have SSI, 20 years old, bought them a home, house needs fixing, but you won't have no benefit for them. He put his name on the list, she put her name on the list, and she started getting passed by because you're using the 65 and up. Ain't nothing wrong giving to the elder, but if you're gonna do it correctly. Give 5 in each side, each ward, and the other 3, you give it to the ones under that. So that's an issue that needs to be addressed right there, and I believe that it needs to be correctly, fairly for everybody. And it's sad to say that we ain't unified. We already trying to grow, but show the people that you're doing something, and you're doing it equally, you're doing it fairly, and with the God pay love in us. We say we love the Lord. We for to be for one another. But where's the fairness at it? No, there ain't no fairness. It's still corrupted. And it's gonna have to be fixed. And them some of the issues that I'll come to you today about, and I will love to see that done. And I promise you, I'm one of the ones, I promise you. I know God's gonna do it.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
I have some questions from y'all
All right, your 3
about the
minutes.
issue I just talked about.
Your 3 minutes, so thank you for your comments.
Yeah, let
So-
me say this here. I just want to
okay.
thank you for coming out. I just want you to thank you for coming and speaking
Mr. Councilman
about what we can do better in the community, man. I wish the other citizens would take advice from you
We're trying to move on.
and let them come out and speak.
I got a question for you. How do you go about getting results about what's been said tonight? Can you give me that answer?
You got shades on. You talking to me?
No, I'm talking about the gentleman right here, Mr. Washington. You said time up. I want to know, how do I get the answer to the results I just talked about?
Leave us your name and number, we'll contact you.
I did that before.
We got to move on to the next speaker.
All right,
Give
thank
me your name and number. Our next speaker will be Mr. Jihad Muhammad. Mr. Muhammad, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Dear council, men, councilwomen, I have a concern I hope that you can address. Ms. Roberts, if you will, please note this as a verbal FYA request. Yesterday was an article written by the Pine Bluff Commercial. Of course, you all know I don't give a lot of stock to media. That's why I come to get the actual facts, okay? They're saying that there are multiple projects that were put forward by the council and Go Forward Pine Bluff that are not on track to be completed. We have about 7 months before a new administration takes place. They talked about the go-kart track. When I drive past there, I don't see any movement. They talked about the 6 and Main project. They talked about the hotel that's deficient in terms of funding, $1.4 million. These are the things that you all approved. And the newspaper is saying the things that you all approved and you all promised, it hasn't happened, it's not going to happen, okay? I don't understand how there's so much deficiency in these budgets when all of these feasibility studies were done. You all said that you all were on top of this. And when the Go Forward Pine Bluff tax was not renewed per the people with the vote, Ryan Watley spoke to the news media and said that there was $29 million in the bank to complete these projects. I'm asking you all, is the Pine Bluff Commercial correct in saying that these projects are not on track to be completed? Or is there some more information you all can give us to clear it up?
I'll be the first to say,
let me say this.
I have no confidence. I have no confidence in Go Forward.
Let him finish. 3 minutes go.
Let him finish. Zero.
His 3 minutes are rolling.
So let me say this to those of you all who opposed it and those of you all who are for it. In leadership, you're going to make mistakes. But it's sad that we have people that have made mistakes with our tax dollars, and they do not have the integrity to say, look, we made a bad call. This thing is not going as we planned for it to go. Here's what we're going to do to try to fix our mistake. Nearly $30 million. Where is it at, and why are these projects not moving along their timeline? That's the question. I'll leave the rest of my time. Any one of you all can answer that question. Thank you. Sorry.
Well, I already said I have no confidence in Go Forward. Anybody else? Anybody else?
You know my take on the Go Forward from the inception. I've never agreed with nothing they've decided to do. I always felt that it was a way to.
But I want to hear from those that was for it.
That was always a reason to circumvent city government. I've always felt that way, and I still feel that way.
Well, Mr. Muhammad, all the projects that are out right now are on schedule to be completed. The only project that may have come in a little bit more was the hotel project, and that's because the costs have gone up since we first started working on it. And that will probably be the only thing. Everything else is on track. And the construction costs go up. That's just part of the business. So that's the honest answer. Cost of construction went up.
you're probably not gonna get very much out of any, because a lot of us, and I do though, a lot of us, don't know very much about what they was planning to do and what the main setup was, and in my case, I knew, and, I stayed grounded on that thought, and, it may have cost me a lot more than I wanted it to, but I did what I was supposed to do as an alderman.
And I studied the Go Forward project in the beginning, and I never have agreed with it. I've been told against it forever. It's a sham.
Thank you. The meeting has been adjourned.
They canceled.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was raining.
What's your